do that for that long. Oh,
do what for that long, pardon? What?
No, nothing. That's not. It's nothing to do with what we're announcing. Weirdly,
we're back. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
It has been a while. We've got 0 viewers apparently, but it's okay.
When was the last one? Was it?
I shall go and check my YouTube stats.
Was it Moffat leaving? I'm trying to think.
It probably was. It was probably Stephen Moffat leaving. Yeah.
Did we find out? That must have been after Series 8. So yeah, it must have been Stephen leaving. It must have been something about the new showrunner.
Yeah, I'll find out when it was. It was going back. It was 6th of May.
6th of May.
Introducing Bill.
Oh yes.
That was the last time we streamed. Obviously, we've done other videos since then, haven't we? We did a few. We did Pyramids versus Peladon and another Q&A, and we did one with Kat and Jonathan on the phone. So we've done a few things. We've been keeping busy. Slow year, because I guess it's been a slow year for Doctor Who.
Nothing's happened. I mean, the only thing was Class, and I wanted to ignore that and go away, and wanted to go away.
Yeah, you see, I have ignored that, and it has gone away. So,
until it gets broadcast on BBC One, of course.
Of course, it is, isn't it? See, I don't know why they went for the whole BBC Three thing. I
think the idea was it would be like, we can, it's a new platform. Here's a new, well, not a new IP, but here's a new thing. We can put it on there, and it can be the flagship program, because fundamentally Class is the age range that BBC Three is tailored for. But then when you actually look at what BBC Three do, and then you look at Class, you just, it is CBBC. I mean, by comparison to everything else they do, it's just, and so I think that, they're contractually obliged to do programs on BBC One, because it's just part of the money-saving thing. It's like, we've got to recycle these programs that they've cost enough. And considering the fact that I think this is how it works, and if it's not how it works, then I need to be corrected, and I'll rectify the point. But the BBC don't count views on their iPlayer programs until they hit 25,000 views.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Class's first episode broke that with 27,000 views, and then every subsequent episode has got under 25,000, so it is counted as 0. So that's a bit scary dairy for them, and I think one of the big problems is it wasn't very prominent on the webpage. Also, the fact that it's obviously restricted all other territories from watching it. Even up to the point of the finale, when I clicked on the classmate, I can't say it. Sorry. When I clicked on the classmates video for one of the last 2 episodes, there were still people in the comment of that video who were clearly British citizens, or assumed to be living in the UK and Ireland, who could access, or Northern Ireland, who can access BBC iPlayer, who were still asking, when is it on? Where can I see it?
Oh, really?
My God. It's just like, how badly have you marketed your program when people are asking that a week before the series finishes?
I'll be honest, I didn't really know. Like, once the first one had gone out, or the first, did they put 3 out at once, or
they put the first 2 out? I think. Yeah.
Once those had gone out, I wasn't really sure when they were coming out, and I just thought, I'll just stick to Facebook and see what happens, because I did intend to watch every episode. But because we've got really bad, we did have really bad internet, we couldn't really use BBC iPlayer at all. It's really crap. It just won't play stuff. Netflix is all right, but iPlayer just won't work.
Sure.
And trying to watch that first episode, my God, we probably spent twice as long watching it, because it kept pausing and stuff. So I think that sort of put me off, and I was like, oh, well, until we get new internet, then I'll go back and watch it. But now, it's been and gone, and I've seen sort of middling reviews to the whole thing. I did actually see what happened in the season finale, because people were like, oh, look at this. And I was like, eh.
I saw the photographs of the, we won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, because there's no point doing that, even though nobody's seen it. yeah, I saw who was in the finale, and I just thought that my first thought was, oh, well, I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, if you're going to have no ties to the actual program apart from the Doctor being in it in the first episode, and of course it's Cole Hill. If you're going to just do that, then I suppose it makes sense. If you want to tease people into the second series, which I hope to God they don't get, because, and I'm not, there's nothing against the production team. It's nothing against it is against the show itself, but I don't want them to have the satisfaction of being recommissioned for a second series, because then they'll just repeat everything that they did the year before in terms of marketing and in terms of, putting it out there. And it will just reinforce the narrative to the people that make the program who are related to Doctor Who that what they're doing is successful. Because, I mean, I think the viewing figures speak for themselves. And they're not everything. Viewing figures aren't everything. I mean, some of the TV's best programs didn't get very good viewing figures. But it's a bit worrying, I think, for them, for it to reach that point.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be like, I told you so sort of thing. But, as soon as it was announced, it was already, people just weren't interested. And I think part of that is, it does link back to the fact that there isn't much of a connection to the parent series. Torchwood was a success because it had Captain Jack in it, and Captain Jack was a much-loved character.
And that's the thing. It's like, how in what mad universe do you think that launching a spin-off from a massive TV program without any main characters involved throughout the whole thing, how on earth is that going to work? How can you quantify that as a success?
That's the thing. People, your run-of-the-mill person is not going to tune into class and go, oh, Coal Hill School, that's Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. No one's going to know that. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are, who consider themselves fans of the show, who probably don't even know the name of the school. Just think, oh, it's that school that Clara used to teach at, or whatever. It's not a prominent enough thing in the public eye. Be the hook. It made sense with, like I said, Jack, Sarah Jane. Those made sense. And that's why I think, I mean, all right, I don't want to, was it Paternoster? Paternoster? Is that the gang? Paternoster gang?
Oh, yeah. Williams tracks, yeah.
Everyone was, vying for that for a long time. And although it wouldn't be something that I would want to see, more sense. It's a lot more Doctor Who, because it's got a bloody Sontaran in it.
And it's in a cooler setting. It's like, I don't really care about the relatability of, and the fact they were like, oh my God, it's just like Sixth Form. It's nothing like Sixth Form. Even down to silly little things like the guy, I've forgotten his name. He was played by a guy called Faddy. I've forgotten the character's name. The Indian fella.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Him. What's his chops? Hair fella. I
don't know any of their names.
No.
I went away from the first episode. I was like, don't know who any of you are.
Yeah.
You could be anybody. I don't know.
But I remember seeing in one of the episodes he's smoking around the back of the school, right. And he's smoking by around the back of the bins by the school, and he pulls out a packet of like pre-rolled like Marlboro fags, and I was just looking, okay. No one's been to Sixth Form. No one takes packets of fags into Sixth Form. They smoke rollies. Like,
yeah, of course they do.
And it's like everything about it. The ball, the school ball, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, the prom thing.
Yeah, I think it was the video that you made with Kat when she said,
yeah,
everybody would be buying tickets for that, and of course they would. It's just like, it doesn't matter who's handing out the flyers; they would be going to that thing.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Everyone knows when that is happening. Everybody. It's madness. And I don't know. It's just like the whole, like the way they dressed during the prom. Like that wasn't a prom night, because no one was in prom dresses or in suits. They were all in like club wear and going out on a Friday night sort of clothing. It just didn't make sense. I think the problem. I think I don't know. It seemed like you had a production team who were thinking, "Oh, this is how teenagers act."
Yeah.
rather than actually thinking, well, go and do your research. Things like the In-Betweeners. The In-Betweeners get it so right.
It's bang on. It's bang on.
Yeah. If I want to see, I've gone blurry. I want to see.
Oh, no, wait.
I want to see the In-Betweeners. I want to see Jay meet an alien and be like, "Oh, that'd fucking hell, what's that?" Yeah. That'd be hilarious.
Slovene farting wank.
Slovene. Yeah.
Yeah. I have it on good authority, and I can't remember what the other one was, but there were 2 spin-offs on the table.
Oh, really?
One of them, it was I have no idea what it was. It was another program entirely that was a bit more interesting, and then the other one was Class, and they picked Class. So there you have it. That's the situation we're in.
Was that probably like a budgetary thing? Do you reckon? Do you
know what? I don't know, because clearly they were clearly planning to do a spin-off this year. That was they've probably been planning to do this for at least 2 years, to have a spin-off in this year where we have no Doctor Who. Yeah. And I think that, if it did, because clearly TV's made over a long period of time, and schedules change quick, within a matter of days. But they would have had to have put the infrastructure in place to start piecing this program together. And if after a year and a half, 2 years of working on this program, and Class is the outcome, I think some heads need to roll. And I think that it's also the marketing department. I don't know who's in charge of the marketing for the program, but I mean, those Classmates Q&As they did on the Twitter page, when I saw them and I made my Classmates video, it was like, I can't tell if they are expecting people to make memes out of this, because I forgot her name. I think the character's called April. That Classmates. Oh, that's the fans. That stuff, and it's like, you don't have a fan base.
Yeah, that's the thing. The program's not even gone out yet.
Yeah, you're on the set, still filming the program, and we know naff all about it. I think even at that point we didn't know the transmission date for it.
No.
And the fans they're talking about are the DWSR, weird, creepy, following people, stalking them, set reporters. That's what they are. And of course they're going to be supportive when you're face to face with them. I'd love to see, if they do another Doctor Who festival, I'd love to see the Class people there. And I would love the people behind it to see just how many people would actually turn up and actually go to the events that they held, like Q&As and panels and stuff like that. Because I think it would be, when you consider the size of the audience was about, let's be generous and say 30,000, down to the amount of people they could fit in the XL, and then you shrink that down even further because there'll be other things going on at the same time.
Yeah,
they'd be lucky to fill a small venue room. I think, because they've gone about it completely the wrong way, and they've jaded everybody and pushed them away and gone, oh no, well the show's obviously not for you because you don't get the advertising and the memes and all that sort of stuff. And the way that they alienated a massive portion of the audience before the show had even gone out, and then they were bragging that they had a fan base. It was such a mess, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's such a great. I think it's an example of a program that we've seen it before with movies. I mean, the superhero genre, you see it now. It's getting very tired. It's getting very stale. And I think, I haven't seen it, but I saw all the stuff around Batman versus Superman and the hype that film got, and then it was, apparently I haven't seen it. That was very Donald Trump of me. I don't know. Apparently I haven't seen it. It was very sad. But I haven't. I think it was the same thing. I think they've needed somebody to sort of shake them and go, this is not what we want. Stop doing it. And Class being the failure I believe it has been, I think is the only thing that's going to sort of snap them into shape and realise that they need to fix this situation.
And it makes me worried for Doctor Who, because you sort of think, crike, if this is how this series is going, and this was a new series that they really, if they wanted it to be a success, they really needed to put their all into it. So I think, bloody hell, with something like Doctor Who, which, let's be honest, it is feeling a bit tired now. It's 10 years that it's been on the air. you know, you sort of think, right, I hope they don't employ the same marketing people for this, for the new series of Doctor Who, because that is going to go down like a lead balloon. And it makes me think, talking about stuff like no one knew when it was on and all that kind of thing, it makes me think back to the days of bloody season 26, when Sylvester McCoy used to say, he would talk to people about, oh, I'm doing Doctor Who, you know, and his friends would be like, I had no idea it was on, you know, there was no advertising for it and all this kind of thing. So, I mean, I guess with Doctor Who, the good thing is it is such a big moneymaker for them. And there's so much sort of onto this, the success of this new series coming out, and even more so when Chibnall takes over, that they really need to put their all into it.
I agree. I'd just like to make a quick sidetrack here. Do you know that when you posted the Review of Death live link on Twitter, you posted it in Portuguese?
No. What?
There's a translation button. It's been posted in Portuguese.
How did that happen?
Como se uma transmissão ao VOM at YouTube. View translation. I started a live broadcast in YouTube.
Well, clearly my flat has moved to Portugal without me knowing it.
Or the ghost there is Portuguese.
Or that, yeah. Maybe.
And it just, as the signal was going out, he grabbed it and went, let me play with this a bit, and then sent it off a bit. Oh, anyway, right, so that was class. There's no point in dignifying it with any more time and conversation, because, I mean, I only watched the first 3 episodes, and I am not in any position right now, in a state of soberness, to go back and want to put myself through it again. I would like to move on. Obviously, the Christmas special is 14 days away, which is
as close as that. Blimey.
Madness.
The new trailer came out today.
I saw it. It was whippet shit. Yeah.
I saw a lot of people on Facebook being like, "What is this?" And I sat there thinking,
that was funny, because I saw them post the link on Facebook, and I went in the comments and I was like, "Oh, it's just going to be the same people saying, oh my god, amazing, smiley face, emojis, all that sort of stuff. This is the best thing ever." But even the people that I expected to sort of, not that I know them personally, but the sort of people you expect to see in the comments of posts like that were saying, I mean, the Christmas specials are usually pretty crap, but this looks seriously underwhelming. And people were saying, like, who were bashing it. And I think the worm has turned now. I think people are finally sort of going, oh, I'm sort of looking forward to somebody else taking over now.
I think, well, that's the thing. Again, I'm going to make the reference to back in the 80s. It's like when Colin Baker and Trial of a Time Lord went out, you know, all these fans were there petitioning, like, you know, save our program. The series went out and they're like, this is shite.
Yeah.
And that was it, and they abandoned it. And I think it's sort of happening again.
It is happening. It's being condensed down. It's like the entire history of Doctor Who being played out in a matter of 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, we've had the honeymoon period, Doctor Who's biggest boom. Then the Doctor regenerates. Weirdly, so the Doctor regenerates into somebody who's quite young and sprightly, and then regenerates into somebody who is even younger, with you know, Peter Davison, Matt Smith. Then goes into someone slightly older, Peter Davison to Colin Baker. I mean, Colin Baker is obviously Peter Capaldi in that instance.
Yeah.
People don't like him. He's grouchy. He's grumpy. And then the program gets pulled for a year.
Yeah.
And then people get very angry and upset. Then it comes back and everyone's like, are you joking? And I think it's all being played out in the same way. And I don't know if this is just something that will always happen if Doctor Who gets cancelled and then recommissioned again. It's always going to follow the same formula of, hey, this is brilliant. Get rid of it. Oh, no, I want it back. Actually, no, that's rubbish. Go away. And it will just constantly go through this cycle of just being on air and then disappearing.
Yeah, I mean, history is doomed to repeat itself, I think. It does certainly seem that way.
It is, and Stephen Moffat is doomed to contradict himself the rest of his life. We have here an interview he's done with the Radio Times.
Okay.
Stephen Moffat reveals almost all about the Doctor Who Christmas special. They say almost all as if like he's always keeping some stuff back. He's literally spoiled a massive plot point in the Christmas special, which is sort of annoying, because I would like that to have been told to me through the story rather than reading it up before, and now there not being any suspense in any of that. So I am going to read it out. It is public. It wasn't like it was told to me, whispered to me
No.
by somebody in the know. It's out there. It's on the Radio Times. So, yes, so it's a little preamble. The question is, could you run through the story and the themes of the Christmas special for us? So we're doing a superhero episode. So we have this character called the Ghost. I can't do a Stephen Moffat impression, so I'm not going to do it. And somebody told me that my Trump impression was rubbish. I agree. I'd like to say we're not doing a send-up of superheroes. We take it relatively seriously in a Doctor Who Christmas special kind of way. Right, so there are some issues with that first sentence. I would like to say we're not doing a send-up of superheroes. We take it relatively seriously. You can't, I think it's been proven by DC's recent attempts you can't do that. You can't take superheroes too seriously. And I hadn't really noticed, but somebody made a point somewhere of saying Doctor Who just takes itself way too seriously nowadays. There's none of the fun and jovial atmosphere in it. Everybody has to die at the end of the series because Moffat. So I think that I just realised every single time we say his surname, we pronounce it differently. I can't remember what the correct pronunciation. Whatever.
Yeah,
I
say Moffat.
Moffat.
But I do. Yeah, some people do say Moffat, don't they?
Yeah. Well, if he's not going to get a script editor to look over his scripts, I'm not going to dignify him by saying his name correctly. We take it relatively seriously in a Doctor Who Christmas way. Now, that to me seems like the complete opposite. We're doing it relatively seriously in a Doctor Who Christmas way. When has a Doctor Who Christmas special ever been serious, apart from maybe Time of the Doctor?
That's ridiculous. And I mean, judging from the trailers, it does not seem like a very serious affair. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because who's pretty good is quite on top of, grabbing what's hot and what's not out in the world and applying a Doctor Who sensibility to it. But in this case, like I said, the superhero genre is already tired. If Doctor Who was going to do a superhero episode and it had done it 8 years
5
ago,
years ago, even that.
that would have been okay. That would have made a bit more sense. I don't think it would be a very good idea. I don't really think that Doctor Who should do superheroes. But now it's like clutching at straws. It just feels it feels tired. It feels like a struggle to do something Christmassy that's not Christmassy. Because I think I read somewhere that Steve Moffat sort of said something about how at Christmas, Superman's always on, or there's always like a superhero film on at Christmas, which is true. I think this year we've got The Avengers is on BBC One.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I think it has been in previous years. And okay, I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to make a Christmas special that wasn't quite Christmassy, but I just don't think that this was the way to go about it.
He even says here, where are we? Something about Christmas. It's got virtually no Christmas in it at all, all apart from the very first scene, which has one Christmas tree, and the Doctor goes ho ho ho, and that's it. We ignore Christmas for the rest of it. So it's like, okay. I mean, that's good. I mean, you don't have to crowbar the Christmas stuff in, I guess.
No.
Which is good, and that's going to save time for the storytelling. But as I'm about to reveal, I mean, there's no point in sharing any of the storytelling over a longer period of time in the story because Stephen's spoiled it all here. So he says here that basically the Ghost is a creation of the Doctor. This is the superhero.
Oh, really?
And basically, from what it says here, this kid was a comic book fan,
right?
Who was imbued with these powers, and he decided when he turned into an adult, he was going to become a superhero, and the Doctor gave him powers, basically.
Right.
Which I actually made a short film about that years ago, but don't worry, Stephen, I'm not going to sue. So. And also it's the title, The Return of Dr. Mysterio.
It's very odd. I mean, it sounds like a comic book. It's a very comic book title.
But it's like the only reason they've named it that is because they found out that's what it's called in Mexico when they went on the world tour. That's the only reason they've named it Dr. Mysterio. How is that going to translate when it goes back to Mexico? Is it going to be The Return of Doctor Who in Mexico? And because of the weird way that the translation works, and they're going to go, wait, well, what? That's really weird. And everybody else goes, oh, we get the joke. And the Mexicans are just there going, doesn't look like that to us. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've got a better name for it. Clearly, there's a kid who becomes a superhero called the Ghost in the future. So why not call it the Ghost of Christmas Past or something like that?
Oh, so like that.
You know, that either straight away that tells you more about the story. That says nothing about it. All it says is Doctor Who's back this year because you've had nothing all year, and now finally it's here at Christmas. It's the return of Doctor Mysterio, and I guarantee it will be like somebody asks him his name and asks if he's a superhero, and he goes Doctor Mysterio or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be something.
Like when he said
Dr.
Funkenstein, which I mean that was annoying, but as a fan of the song Dr. Funkenstein, I was quite happy to hear it get referenced.
That's a song?
Yeah, we love you, Dr. Funkenstein. Your funk is the best. We love you, Dr. Funkenstein. Anyway, so yeah.
Do it afterwards.
That was definitely a Capaldiism to add that in.
Yeah,
So,
probably.
So all in all, with all that said, what are our opinions of the Christmas special? What do we think is going to happen? Are you looking forward to it? Because I've seen a lot of people who were going, "Oh, Christmas special, I've got to look shite," and then saw the trailer today and went, "Actually, it looks all right. It looks better than expected." But then the fans that would usually defend it are going, "Oh, this looks really underwhelming."
I mean, the thing is, see, on the surface, because as you all know, I am a massive comic book fan. I'm wearing my Joker T-shirt right now.
Oh, yes.
I love comic books. I love comic books.
It'd be nice if there was a store to maybe buy that from. Oh, I'm jumping ahead. Sorry.
So for me, this is like one of my favorite things meets Doctor Who. My favorite thing. It should be a match made in heaven, but I don't want superheroes in Doctor Who because that just seems weird. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some explanation behind it. Part of me thought when like there's all these images of him with the little boy, which I guess turns out to be the Ghost. It's like, oh, is it going to be? And it was sort of based off of what Mark Gatiss said when he said like, oh, it's the best Christmas special Stephen's ever written, and it made me cry. Like, oh, is it going to be some like weepy twist at the end, like the boys, it's like the little boy's actually like in a coma or something, and the doctor's done something, so in his brain he's living out his wildest dreams, or he's terminally ill, and it's going to be something like that. I can't say I am looking forward to it at all. Really, I think particularly after last year's Christmas special, which left a bad taste in my mouth. Sort of like, oh, we've waited a year and we've got another Christmas special. Yeah. It's like, oh God, is it just going to be more of the same? And the thing is, there are so many ties to the Husbands of River Song in this episode. We've got the return of Nardole, which I think in one of the interviews they said that it's not explained like in full why he's still around,
or how he's got his head back onto his body. I know I saw that. They said that him ending up with the Doctor gets pieced together throughout the next series.
Right. Okay. So obviously we've got that tie, but we've also got the tie that. And people worked this out before, I think Stephen Moffat actually revealed it, and you can work it out in the trailers, actually. The characters in the surgical masks...
Yes.
It's those guys from the Husbands of River Song, the guy who pulls his head apart and pulls...
Which was really cool, but I'm worried that the gimmick is going to be that, like, oh, that looked cool, people like that. Just stick them in the next year's Christmas special, that'll do, Because they are a very visually cool design. I think they look really really exciting.
They were interesting, and it was it was quite horrifying actually when you saw that. I remember watching it on the day, thinking like, oh, that's good. Everything else so far has been a bit crap, but that's a bit more like it. Yeah. So I'd be interested to see how that pans out, like how they work as more of a proper villain. To be honest, I can't really remember what they did in the Husbands of River Song. I can't even remember what the Husbands of River Song was about.
Do you know what? I was thinking then, when you said Last Christmas Special, instantly I thought of Last Christmas. Because I just assumed that was the Last Christmas Special. And then when you said the Husbands of River Song, Oh yeah, that was last year, wasn't it? Because I remember on the day. Obviously, it's Christmas. People are merry. The wine has been passed around, even though I hate wine. And I was sat there on the sofa, and my family were around me, and my grandmother was sat on the other sofa, and we were watching this shitstorm. And I was just like, I honestly, I've given up with this program. I can't do this anymore. And my grandma said, "You still like this?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "No, I hate this. I love Doctor Who, but I hate this." And she was saying, and I'd never seen her get like sort of like that about anything. And she was just like, "This is really quite awful, Billy. You know that?" I was like, "Yeah, I know. It's horrendous. It's crap." And she was, when I sort of go, "Oh God, they're doing this and they're doing that," because she does watch Doctor Who. She really likes Doctor Who. In fact, she's got a bit of a crush on Peter Capaldi. And I said, it's awful. And she was then noticing tropes where I was like, "Oh, I did that like two episodes ago," and then she started to sort of go, "Oh yeah, that's weird, isn't it?" And then she more and more she started to piece it together, and she's become just as cynical and jaded about Doctor Who as me now, and she's not even on Twitter. That's incredible, So I mean, when you can turn, a woman who is on the ripe side of her age, when you can turn her against a program that she watches, every week, and when she's got a crush on the main on the leading man, and then she goes, "Is it shit?" Like you've got an issue there.
Well, it's like I said to you when we've had the first preview of this episode on Children in Need Night. I saw my dad the following week, and he turned around to me as he was doing the washing up, and he went, "Of Doctor Who, eh? What a load of fucking shit that was!" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it was."
Yeah.
Like, "What's that about?" He's like, "Well, what?" Because he's not a fan, but he's watched enough Doctor Who, because of me and my brother, that he knows what's good Doctor Who and what isn't. He's got stories that he's like, "Oh, I remember the one with the pink ladies. That's Happiness Patrol," and stuff like that. He's got his own sort of ones that he can pick them out on the shelf and be like, "Oh, I remember that one. That was that one. Oh, yeah, that was quite good, that one." But yeah, and for him to turn around and be like, "That looked fucking shit," you're not. I don't know who the BBC have on their team of like, right, we're not fans, but let's show them this program and get them to like it.
Yeah.
I forget what they're called. They have them for films, don't they? But I don't know who they've got, but they're obviously not doing a very good job. That or they've got a gun to their head saying, "You better turn around and say this is a good
focus
episode."
groups.
Focus groups.
That's the thing. That's the interesting thing is that, like, obviously they had the Doctor Who consumer panel.
Yeah.
And then that disappeared and got replaced by the BBC Worldwide Consumer Panel.
Yeah.
And I actually filled out the class one. I haven't filled out a survey in probably about 7 or 8 months since it became the BBC Worldwide Consumer Panel.
No, I've not done any.
No, but they did. But they said, "What do you think of class?" I told them what I thought of class. But I just think it's that thing. It's that thing again of, do you know what? If you keep praising a TV program that is fundamentally flawed, and this is why I stopped following the Doctor Who Twitter account and why I stopped retweeting their stuff directly, because you are giving them traffic, and this goes out to every single person that's watching this video who is cynical and jaded like us and comments about the Doctor Who stuff. If you interact with a piece of Doctor Who social media, even to say it's crap, that is a tick in their box of going, well, somebody interacted with it. Doesn't matter what they said. The numbers are up, and it's the same thing. I think that fuels. I know this is not even comparable, but it's the same people that same thing that fuels people like Donald Trump. He'll get loads of retweets on his tweets, and that will probably reinforce to him that he's probably right about something. And even though most of those people retweet it, going, "Oh my God, what a deplorable human being."
Yeah, yeah.
I think so. This is a plea, a review of death plea. Just screenshot the thing that you don't like and then post it somewhere. Don't actually physically interact with it, because it just adds to the traffic. I stopped watching the Classmates videos because even though they were hilarious, I didn't want to give them the benefit of my view. I just went, "Oh God, it's say," and I asked people what happened in them, and they did change tack over a while. But I mean, just don't let them defend themselves. Don't give them the credit that they don't deserve.
I think you're right. I mean, I don't really follow. I mean, I follow them on Twitter, the Doctor Who page, but I'm not one to retweet their stuff either. If anyone's worth retweeting, it's worth retweeting the Fan Show, because they actually do post interesting.
Absolutely,
bits of information.
And they actually post stuff like, "Oh, it is that person's birthday. Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And they will post stuff about, Big Finish are doing this, or this book's coming out, or all these other things. Whereas if you go on the main Doctor Who Twitter, it is just, here's a GIF from the Pandorica Opens of Matt Smith and Amy Pond going like that. And it's just like, what's that? What is that? It's like, it's just like, you looking forward to the weekend? GIF. It's like, wow, thanks. That's really Doctor Who.
Is there something positive we can talk about? Because I want to say, like, hey, Power of the Daleks. Well, the animation actually wasn't great.
The animation had its issues, but I'm just gonna say I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I think if they turned around tomorrow and said we're gonna go through all the lost episodes and animate them like that, I'd be like, yeah, fine, do it. Go for it. There were issues. There were some obviously very glaring continuity issues at times, like in episode 1, where Ben and Polly's costumes suddenly changed and then changed back again.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like a thing where I'd watched the episode and then I watched it again and noticed it. I was watching it and I thought, wait, changed. And then it was like, is that an error? And I was like, oh no, it's a passage of time. They changed their clothes. And then they were like, better give them some proper clothes. And then they were back in their old outfits. So I was like, oh, that's a balls up. How did they balls that up?
I don't know.
I think there were a few other ones, and I sort of heard on Twitter some people were sort of saying stuff like, not sure that from the tape matched what they were showing on screen. And I guess it's difficult. It's so difficult to know what anything is.
It is hard, and especially now we know that the BBC gave them an 8-month deadline, and then they cut it back to 6 months in order to get it out for the anniversary of the episode. Which is a shame, because I think literally it just seems like, if you've done that in 6 months, fair play. Another 2 months probably would have fixed everything people had a problem with.
Just polished it up a little bit.
Yeah,
more.
Exactly. That's all it needs to do, and then you could have brought it out for Christmas, and that would have been, that would have been good. But I guess that they don't want to take away from the Christmas special. But yeah, there are a few. If you haven't plug, hang on a minute. I'm going to make this a thing I do in my videos now. If I ever have to, I'm going to be plugging a lot more on the channel, as we'll reveal in a bit. But plug. If you would like to know, Jesus, I should have thought that out. I should have had that prepared. It's my phone charger. If you want to know my thoughts on Power of the Daleks, you can go to my channel. I've got a review of it, and it's the first review I've ever done where I've actually taken clips and put them when I'm saying stuff. And there's a bit in it. There are a few moments where, and I'll to save you the benefit of going to the thing, I'll say now. There's one bit where the Dalek. I think it's in the last episode of the Daleks turn on the colonists and they start gunning people down in the corridors. And there's a very awkward encounter where I think it's the Doctor, Ben, Polly, and another guy, and they're running down a corridor. And then they just sort of stand, and the Dalek comes round and stares at them, and they just sort of stand there for a bit, like with the same expression, and then go, "Oh, quick, you better run!" And they walk out of frame, and then you can hear the Daleks rolling across the studio floor, and they just sort of stood there, and they look at each other and have a conversation, and you can hear them rolling across the studio floor underneath it. There's a few bits as well where you're like, oh god, I can't believe I've forgotten his name. The guy who played Lesterson.
Yeah.
His performance is unbelievable, and in the last few episodes where he has a sort of Shakespearean descent into madness, the animation does not do it justice, because you sort of feel like he should be on the floor in like a puddle, like clawing at people, and you're sort of like
you can imagine it was a very animated, frenzied performance in real life, and unfortunately the nature of that animation being quite static doesn't do it justice.
He just sort of stood there with the same expression on his face. You can hear him going in the background, and his character just sort of stood there, and then somebody will ask him a question and he'll shout, and then his expression will change and he'll turn to them and go, "I'm perfectly okay," and then he'll go back to normal. and it's just like I think that's the cheapness of the animation, which again, like you can't really berate them for it, given that they got such a small amount of time, you know, taken away from them to finish it off. But it is still the final product. And as you said, if they turned around tomorrow and said, we're going to animate every single one in the same way, same production studio, same timeline, I would say, like, I would rather wait 2 years to get, like, say, Planet 55 to do another one than wait 7 months and then get the Crusades. I'd rather know it was they had enough time to do it in, because I didn't really like the animation style of it particularly. It sort of felt like I mean, I think we've had conversations about it before, and you said it sort of felt like a bit of a Doctor Who fan animation.
Yeah,
at times.
I think, you know, I've seen animations on YouTube that fans have done, and like, actually, you know, it's not dissimilar to stuff that I've seen on there. You know, which is obviously a great credit to the people who have been making them on YouTube. Yeah, it was a funny one. I think, especially for me, because I'd watched 10th Planet, I'd literally watched episode 4 the day before Power of the Daleks came out, because I was like, oh, well, I know, I'll watch the whole episode in the lead up to the big release. And I think that it was quite obvious, like the difference in animation. Now, I think that I really liked about the new animation style compared to Planet 55, at least with the 10th Planet, and I think probably Reign of Terror as well, is that I find with Planet 55 stuff is that their animation models for the actors, they change quite a bit. They never seem to be on point. Do you know what I mean? Like, in certain frames, Hartnell will go from looking very much like Hartnell to, all right, that could sort of be William Hartnell. Whereas I found with this, it was very much, no, this is what they look like, and they're going to look like that throughout the whole thing.
You're right.
It was very, what's the word that I'm looking for? It was very, I don't know, but it was that.
It was that. I've said before, the Moon Base is my favorite animation, because I think it got.
I agree.
Planet 55 they did the Reign of Terror when it was that really weird frenetic animation where they just kept cutting like randomly when people turned around. It was just like a minuscule clip of someone's face turning around, and then it would cut to a wide and the close up, and it was really really messy.
Yeah, like what's going on here? Yeah.
I think they changed it up, and then they did the 10th Planet, and I think that you're doing it now. This is a step in the right direction. Then they did the Moon Base, which is arguably a simpler story to animate, because you haven't got the period costumes, you haven't got the detailed sets to a certain extent. And then with the 10th Planet, because it is such a seminal story, you haven't got the stress of going, we need to make sure we get every frame of the regeneration right, or so on and so forth. And I think that they nailed it with the Moon Base. And you know, if this is the way it is, I'm sad that that's their final sort of appointment on the program, doing work for it. If that was the last one, I can't remember if that was the last one they did.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Because I just think that the whole thing, just the Cybermen in it are very menacing, and they do it perfectly. Like the bit where the guy goes into the grain store and there's a Cyberman in there waiting for him, and the Cyberman kills him, and then the march across the moon, it looks amazing.
Very well done, incredibly well done. It's a shame that we didn't get to see them do Underwater Menace, because I think they were meant to be doing that, weren't they?
It's sad, isn't it? And I wonder if maybe Power of the Daleks had something to do with it, that they
Possibly.
went, do you know what? We've actually found a cheaper alternative. So, you know, we're gonna work on this in the near future. Just push out what you got at the moment. You know, we'll get the DVD out at some point. Thank you for your service. You know, whatever. And I think that would be really sad. And I mean, we're probably looking into it a bit too much, but I mean, Planet 55 nailed it for me. Nailed the Doctor Who recon, because Cosgrove Hall set the bar so high, because it was so detailed. It was so well. I mean, arguably that is the best one, because you know, if people didn't like the style of cartoon from Planet 55, you've got a very simplified, simplistic, but also incredibly sharp and elegant piece done by Cosgrove Hall.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I sort of think like Planet 55 is an evolution of that, but I can see why people maybe didn't get along with it in the same way. I can't remember the studio that did the Ice Warriors, but I think I mean Kuros or something like that, or
That's right. Yeah.
yeah. I wasn't a fan of that because I felt that was too static and it was a bit too cartoony, which is a weird thing to say for a recon, an animated recon.
No,
What did you think of that?
That's interesting you should say that, because so just going back to an earlier point where you mentioned about how the cutting in the Reign of Terror was sort of all over the place. As it's like with this Power of the Daleks, I felt that they didn't cut enough. Like at times,
Definitely, there were weird pauses where they just sort of stood around shuffling.
Yeah, and just between conversations, it's like,
yeah,
really, we could have easily have gone from this wide to a close up here and then close up of that person. We didn't need the whole thing to be in wide. Going back to what you were saying about Kuros or whoever it was, there were some animation tests that came out a little while ago, and I don't know if it might have been from them, and they were of Evil of the Daleks and 10th Planet, and it was a far more cartoony style, like quite caricature-y. The only way I can describe it is it looked sort of more Disney-esque,
right?
Sort of like classic Disney of Aladdin,
hand-drawn stuff,
hand-drawn, but quite caricature art.
Yeah,
and I actually really quite liked it. And
I'm gonna go and try and find it now.
It's somewhere actually in my favorites on YouTube. And actually, I sort of thought maybe with these places are sort of trying to stick to the original shooting scripts and stuff too much, and maybe that's more of a hindrance than it is a blessing, because with Power especially, particularly in episode 1, you do have these moments where all right, there'll be a bit of chat and then no one will talk for a good 30 seconds or something, and you're like, right, I don't really know why nothing's happening here. And clearly the people who are animating it also don't know why anything isn't happening, because we have no reference to show, all these little nuances of doing stuff, So I think that maybe, I don't know. I mean, obviously part of me being a sad fan, obviously, want it to be as close to the real thing as possible. But at the same time, I think you also need it to be a very enjoyable experience to watch, and I think that maybe having a bit more creative leeway could help with that. I mean, sort of did it with Power, in as much as they didn't go right. Well, in this scene, there's half a dozen cardboard cutout Daleks. They went right. We're going to use proper Dalek models, and you have that wonderful shot where you've got all these Daleks, and it looks amazing in that factory, and you think, that's fantastic. But if you were going to do it like the actual program, or however many they had at the time, and I think they probably did the same with the Moonbase. They probably added in a few more Cybermen, although I think they did have quite a few for that episode. Maybe trying to stick too close isn't necessarily the way to go. But then again, at the same time, it really bloody irritates me that they put in Magpie electricals on the TV screens and stuff.
And it's going to forever irritate me that it's in 16:9.
Yeah,
like that. That is nitpicking. But I mean, why not? I mean, I know you're putting it out on the BBC Store and you want it to look like whatever. But I mean, I think even maybe the Dad's Army animation was 4:3.
Oh, was it really?
The same people did, I think. I'm not sure, but.
I think that, I mean, at first it didn't bother me, and then they showed, I can't remember where it was. It might have been in Doctor Who magazine, or it might have been on Radio Times. They had a comparison of a shot of the little TV, the little communication screen in the governor's office, and they showed how they sort of did two comparisons. I think one shot was of one thing, and it looked like almost identical, and then they did this shot of the screens, and it was like. But they said in certain cases they've had to completely reframe stuff where it's in widescreen, and so the 4:3 ratio of the original just wouldn't work. I was like, no, that doesn't seem. I feel like, well, that's now less authentic. But now I'm sort of contradicting myself because I was like, well, maybe we can have a bit more leeway with it. It's a real funny one I don't think you're ever going to get it perfect. I think it's just, I think it's so difficult to do. But fair play to them. I think they did a really good job, and I'd happily see more like that from them. Obviously, they have said that it's something that they are obviously thinking about whether or not it happens. I hope it does, but obviously it's probably somewhere in the recesses of their minds, they're probably thinking, what one could we do next? Because there was that interview where they talked about the Crusades, and I know it's a story you've said to me, plenty of times, and in these videos you've said, where the hell is the Crusades? Why hasn't it been reanimated? For God's sake, it's only 2 episodes. But what was interesting was that the director of the new animation said there's so many costume changes for different characters is that actually it doesn't work out very well because it's like actually twice as many models as we would have in this story, for instance, because I think really there's only a handful of key characters and they don't really change their outfits. They're all very much the same sort of thing throughout. But you can imagine, like, the Crusade, well, you've got the Doctor in his normal costume, then he's got his sort of costume that he gets from the little shop, or the store, or wherever it is. And then it's the same for Vicky, and it's the same for Ian, and it's the same for Barbara. And it's like, Jesus Christ, this is getting a lot of different outfits we need to draw. So I can understand it, but yeah, I'd love to see more. I'm looking forward to getting the DVD for Christmas. Yeah. Did you get any photo cards? Were you in the first 1,000?
I wasn't. I did pre-order it, but I didn't get any photo cards, which I'm very sad about.
I've got my photo cards up there. They came the other day.
Good. I'm just going to post in the chat. Oh no, wait, I can't. Oh no, I can't post it. Never mind. I was going to post in the chat on the page. I found a link to the animation. The cartoon style you were talking about. Yeah. So I'll put it on my Twitter in a bit, and people can go and find that. Right. So I think we've got 2 more things to talk about.
Let me check my itinerary. That's
okay. We've got to talk about Series 10.
Yeah.
And then we've got our announcement. And then I think we should do the Q&A.
Yeah. So we've talked about Power, so I can cross that off. We've talked about Christmas so far. So we can cross that off. So we've got our announcement to do.
Yeah.
We've got everything else sort of ties into Series 10.
Yeah.
So how do you want to do it? Do you want to do?
Well, if it's going to take that long, I'm gonna put another can up. But I think we've been doing it for an hour. I think or just under an hour. I think it's fair to do the deal now. I guess.
Let's do the reveal. Hang on, let me pour out some Pepsi.
Okay. Yeah, let's celebrate. Someone grab a glass and toast it or whatever.
What are you drinking?
I don't like craft beer.
Right, okay.
I think I'm very, if somebody said you can have a pint of craft lager for free, or you can give me 50p and you've got a 4-pack of lager like Budweiser or whatever, I'll be like, I'll have Budweiser because I know I'll like that. But Brewdog Punk IPA is gorgeous and I like it, and I don't like craft beer, but there you go. So
okay.
Brewdog, you've converted me. Anyway, right, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. So
do you want to do it, or I'll let you.
Well, big announcement. Well, I guess you should do it really because you're the one who's been working hard on it. I was just the one going, that's good.
That's a very good point. But it is your channel, and I think.
Okay. Well,
the announcement is that we're bringing out our own range of craft beer. Actually,
yeah. I've been brewing it in the bath.
Yeah, it's called Chronoid IPA.
So the announcement is we have merch coming out. Yeah, merchandise.
Hallelujah.
So it was something Billy you were sort of toying with before, wasn't it?
Yeah, for a little while I think we wanted to do it, but I think the thing was there were lots of people like us doing that. And I think, I certainly agree with you at the time that we aren't we weren't that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't purvey ourselves to be, you know, a certain way, or, you know, we didn't purvey ourselves to have a brand, so to speak. But I think it's got to the point now where enough people enjoy our content. It'd be nice to share that in some sort of physical way. You guys have been so supportive of it, especially for somebody who comes out of having never been related to this channel before. And, you know, I just appeared on it randomly, and we created the review of Death. It's been, what, 2.5 years?
God, has it been that as long as
almost,
that? Blimey.
Almost three years we've been doing this.
God,
It'll be three years this August.
Wow, really?
We've been doing it.
Jeez,
unbelievable.
That's insane.
And to think it came out of me interviewing you.
Yeah, that was it. Was it? Yeah, that was it. That was how it all started.
And then I said, oh, it'd be nice to collaborate and do something, thinking, oh, Matt's got bigger fish to fry. He's not going to want to bother with me. And then it was just like we had a mutual love for Death to the Daleks, and
that was it.
And that's how we bonded. I'm very sorry to anybody who expected it to be announced that we were having a baby, but
yeah.
So yeah, if you open a little tab and don't close this, because obviously we're still talking, and it'd be incredibly rude and I'd be very upset. If you go to another tab and you type in bit.do/review of Death, you'll be taken to the collection for the merchandise. It's on my Redbubble store. Additionally, you can go into the comments, into the description below. If it's not there at the moment,
I thought you could just get on.
Yeah, just click the link if you fancy that instead. It is way easier. Yeah, you can. I mean, if it's not there now, we did add it just before we went live. So if you refresh the page, if it's not there now, it'll be there. So we've got, actually, hang on, let me just double check. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 designs on there right now. So we've got the brand new Review of Death logo, which is going to be used for everything now. We've got the swirl design, which was supposed to look like a sort of a Superdry shirt, but when I put it against red, it looked like the Coca-Cola logo, so whatever. We've got 2 quote t-shirts, both of which belong, we've got 3 sort of. 2 of them belong to you, being the infamous "come in my box" and Fanwank, which originally was Fanwank, and then in brackets underneath, Fanwank all over your faces. But I thought that was a bit too...
did I say that?
Yeah, you did, yeah.
Why did I say that?
I think we were talking about Moffat. We were talking about Tumblr or something, which is why it's written in the Tumblr font.
Right,
so,
okay.
There we go. So we've got Fanwank there for you. We've got 2, I'm calling them block because I don't want to get sued, 2 block designs, which are obviously based off of a certain British Broadcasting Corporation. I'm saving the best one to last. We've got an ECW type t-shirt there as well, which is called Extreme. We've also got a design that only I'm going to enjoy, which is based on the very, very early Beatles logo, which is called Beat Bug. And then finally, and obviously save the best to last, the incredible Dave Burgess of Cloister Productions, who created our title sequence. And he's also done lots of great stuff that's been featured in Doctor Who magazine and all over the place. He's supremely talented.
Excellent.
So if you don't know who he is, I wish you'd be surprised if you like Doctor Who content on YouTube. He does some incredible design work as well. So go and follow him on Twitter, where he posts his designs, his artwork. Basically, I had an idea for a T-shirt, and I wasn't clever enough to do it. So Dave has come up with this incredible design. It's called the Knob Out Articulation shirt, and it's based on a quote from the Rose episode. I mean, if you watch our videos, you'd know what the quote was and what it relates to. But it's supposed to look like an old Dapol. Jesus Christ. You've imbued that in me. I'm so angry that I've been pronouncing it wrong all these years.
I know, well, sorry.
I'm so upset.
I don't care what anyone says, it's Dapol.
It's based on one of the earlier Dapol backing cards. And I think it's the best thing that's ever happened to the Review of Death.
It's
that
amazing.
being made. It's so cool.
Dave did such a good job recreating that.
He
It's
did.
brilliant.
I
It's
literally
so
just
good.
I sent him the photograph, and I said, I wanted to look at this and have this and have this, and he was like, cool. 45 minutes later, he sent me the finished backing card without any of the text on it, and then the day after, it was done. And I was like, tell me which bits you want me to change. It's like, no, that's perfect.
It's fine. Perfect.
Bang on.
Absolutely amazing.
So
that's so good.
It's brilliant. So if you want a quick note about the sale of the stuff. So today is the deadline if you want any apparel to get it in time for Christmas. So if you want any t-shirts, hoodies, jumpers, baseball shirts, vests, sweatshirts, anything like that, you need to order it today. Today is also the last day for phone cases as well. But we've got all the designs are available in loads of different colors, and they're also available on mugs, travel cups, phone cases, iPad cases. They're available on loads of stuff, tote bags, journals, spiral notepads. There's actually, I think there's a pair of jeggings in there somewhere as well, I think, or I might have removed that. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to get it in time for Christmas, you need to order it today. There's the stickers as well. Today is the last day for ordering in time for Christmas on Redbubble. So we have to buy the shirts ourselves. It's printed elsewhere and brought in, so I know which ones I'm going to ask for Christmas. I'm asking for my own merchandise for Christmas. So yeah, if you want to go and buy that, then it's available. It's there now, and it would be awesome if you get your shirt. Take a photo of it once it arrives with you wearing it.
Yeah, tweet it to us.
Yeah, tweet it to us. # Review of Death. You can obviously at us in the tweet as well. It'll be so cool to see that. Yeah. So there we go. That's the announcement.
That's that. So awesome stuff. Well done to Billy, because he was the mastermind. He was there coming up with all these designs, and of course a massive thank you to Dave for that incredible backing card design, which just looks great. Absolutely brilliant.
Which one are you going to get first, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Well, I said to you, I liked the block logo one from the 90s. So I quite like that. So yeah, maybe I'll get Rod.
Yeah, Rod. We are now known as Rod. The outfit formerly known as Review of Death, now known as Rod.
So yeah, there you go. So if that is something that you fancy, then there you are. Click the link in the description below.
Great stuff. We're going to open with the Q&A now. With the first question, I got half an hour ago on Twitter from Billy Howe. I don't know where this has come from. Matt, what are our opinions on Shrek?
On Shrek? It's a good film.
Yep. There we are.
I like it.
I don't know why we were asked that. I don't know what's going on. Right, let's take it to the Facebook page, Batman Launches Doctor Who Action Figure Adventures Facebook page.
Probably should take the Action Figure Adventures bit out, because it's not that anymore.
just call it Review of Death. Just say buy our t-shirts. So what we've got here, first question, big topic of debate. What do we think of Capaldi having not made up his mind to leave?
Oh, now see, this is do we want to save that for when we come to the sort of Series 10 look forward thing? Because
okay, yeah, we'll do that last. We'll do the look forward last, because maybe we'll try and end it on a high note. Although, judging by what we know about Series 10 so far, not so much. One for Matt. I mean, we'll try and answer as many of these as possible, because there are a lot of them here. Looking back at the Action Figure Adventures, Doctor Who or Batman, considering that we was talking about that a second ago, which one is the one you're most proud of working on, Matt?
Ooh, it'll be the Doctor Who ones. Although, I was pleased with Batman. Doctor Who, the Series 3 of the Paul McGann stuff, that was really good. I really liked that. I really liked the Dalek story I did with Colin Baker, Salvage Mission. That was really fun. And the Peter Davison story, Hell on Earth. Yeah, I like a lot of them, but I think I think sort of towards the end, where I think I sort of got in my stride and I was sort of a bit more, I knew what I was doing a bit more. So yeah, I like that Colin Baker story actually. As a little Dalek story with Davros, I'm quite pleased with that.
I remember actually when that first went out, I remember watching it and I showed it to my dad and he was just going, he's animated the lights flashing in time, and I now know that was such a pain in the arse.
That was such a ball ache. My God, I am so glad that I never have to do that again.
Well, you know, maybe if you decide at some point to work in a different medium, you won't have to worry about any of that stuff at all.
Well, yeah, that's true, but holy shit, yeah, that was hard.
In fact, this is the next question. Funnily enough, I was just looking at it when I said that. Can you give us any more information or a wee tease about this new Doctor Who project that you're working on?
That was weird. I think someone walked past my front door and it sort of shook a bit. I was like, I was trying to get in.
It's the Portuguese spectre.
Yeah, he's coming. I don't know. Well, I can't remember if we announced the medium. I'm sure I did. I'm sure
it's been like, I know Kat's been putting stuff up on her her Patreon.
Oh, has she? So I know we put she has, yeah. We put the episode list out, so it's 10 episodes.
Of what? I think we need to start literally from the. I know people have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Right, okay, so there's so Kat and I are working on a new Doctor Who project. They are episodes, so it's new stories basically written between the two of us, and we've sort of been developing it between us for a year now. It's 10 episodes. It's a new Doctor. It's a new companion, and there are new monsters, and there are 2 returning monsters, the Daleks being one of them. I don't really know what else I can say.
Have you actually said that it's an audio yet?
Well, yeah, it's audio. I think we have said that it was,
okay.
That it was audio. Yeah. So it's 10 audio plays. They are almost written. I've written all of my stories. I just need to script edit the season finale, which I'm doing at the moment. Kat has written one of her episodes, and the other ones she's sort of currently working on at the moment. And we have recorded some of not the first episode, but the first one that we've recorded is episode 5, I want to say. We haven't done all of it, but we've recorded some of it with different people. So we're gonna slowly them, and so watch this space.
Good stuff. I had to literally pry the information out of you when I came over. I was like, can you actually just tell me what it is? Because then you said, well, you know, we're working on this thing, and then you unfolded, and I was just sat there sort of slack-jawed, like, this is. I won't even say, because it will people will see when it comes out, and then it was just like, oh, cool. So if you need anyone to do anything for it, and then you were just like, oh yeah, I mean, there's characters in it that we've said, Billy will do that, and it's like, tell me first. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, literally, like when I was writing it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, Billy will be that person.
Good stuff. I can't wait to do it. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, so I'm slowly editing episode 5 at the moment.
Cool.
So I think I've edited about 7 minutes worth, and Dave, who obviously did our T-shirt, is going to be doing the title sequence. Well, he's done the title sequence actually. Title sequence is done. Title sequence is locked in, and we've got a new logo as well. I posted the logo. I'm sure.
Yeah. The thing that may or may not be tied to a recent Netflix program that came out.
It may or may not be inspired by Stranger Things. Doing the title sequence, and he's going to be doing the cover art for the adventures as well. So he hasn't started work on that yet because it's very early days. We need to take photographs and stuff.
That's what I was just put. I can't wait to see the title sequence on audio.
Well, this is the thing. Well, no, Dave had a very cool idea of how, because obviously it's going to go up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll try and post it somewhere else, so it is like a just audio. But for the YouTubes, he's come up with a nice idea for how it will be like a video, but obviously it's not a video. But when it gets to the title sequence, you will get a proper diddly dum title.
A proper diddly dum. We all have a diddly dum. Someone just said we should call the production company Big Rod Productions, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, Big Rod, a big rod.
A big rod. I mean, Big Finish is an innuendo of itself. They've even admitted that. So let's take it one step further. Big Rod Productions.
Because they were going to be Rock Hard Productions, weren't they originally?
Oh my god.
Rock Hard Productions, and then it was Big Finish. No, we'll just have a Big Finish.
Big Rod. We love Willies.
Big Rod.
Well, I mean, this question sort of answers itself if you've watched any of this stream. How do you think a year without Doctor Who has affected the fan community?
It would have sort of gone...
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, it's not even getting to it. I mean, this is one we get all the time, so it'd be cool to actually finally answer it. Just so you can get off our backs. Which classic Doctor Who monsters do you want to return?
Sorry, what was that? Which
classic Doctor Who monsters would you like to return?
I would like to see the return of, so long as they don't ruin them, the Sea Devils.
Well, that is rumoured, apparently.
That is rumoured.
Seaweed. I love that.
Yeah, seaweed. Obviously, Sea Devils. Obviously, brilliant. But yeah, I'd love for them to come back. I'd like the Yeti to come back. I'd like, I know they've already come back, but I'd like the Ice Warriors to come back in more of a proper story, if you know what I mean. Because as I liked Cold War, but I'd like to see like a proper Ice Warrior story where they're always in their suits and they're not scuttling around being weird lizard things. I'd just like a proper, maybe a return to Peladon, or see the Ice Warrior civilization on Mars in its heyday, or just anything. But I think that's probably unlikely because I think Stephen Moffat once said in an interview that he thought the Ice Warriors, the bringing back the Ice Warriors was like digging to the back of the cupboard to see what shit monster they could get out of Doctor Who. I love Ice Warriors.
They're brilliant.
I'll be honest, I think that the redesign for the Ice Warriors, I may slightly prefer it to the original.
That's a bold statement.
That's a bold statement, I know. Coming from me, I think they look friggin' awesome. And I would love to see, like,
until they get out of the shell.
Forget that bit. When he took his head off, that never happened.
It's not canon.
Not canon.
It's as canon as Dimension in Time.
Yeah, it's as canon as I'm trying to think of a really shit story that we've had recently that was so bad I wanted to tear out my ears.
Hellbent.
Hellbent. Yeah. It was. There we are. It's as canon as the hybrid bloody prophecy being the reason why the Doctor left Gallifrey.
Oh, I've just remembered what the other spin-off was. I think.
Oh Christ!
I think it was Ashilda and Clara.
No.
I think it was, yeah.
Fuck! No.
Let's leave it at that before we start swearing.
Jesus Christ! It shouldn't have happened in the first place. Don't make a program out of it. Now? Hang on, BBC. Like, let's just think about this. You've got your lead actress who wants to leave Doctor Who. She's not going to leave Doctor Who to then go on and be in her own spin-off from Doctor Who. And you've got Maisie Williams, who, all right, now I've watched Game of Thrones since watching her in Doctor Who, and I think she's brilliant. She's ever so good in Game of Thrones. She's excellent. But why make a spin-off with a character that no one really gave a shit about? He's going to be so wrapped up doing an incredibly huge, popular HBO series, which will pay probably 10 times as much as a spin-off from the BBC.
Yeah. But isn't it like we were saying about Matt Lucas? It's like he said, I'm so grateful to be back. I love Matt Lucas. He follows me on Twitter. Papa bless. But the fact that he's like, I'm so happy to be back in rainy Cardiff, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I'd imagine it's pretty well paid. And considering, I mean, not so much anymore, but there's the option of maybe having merchandise and action figures and all that sort of stuff coming out later. I don't think, you know, I imagine it's all right working on Doctor Who.
Oh,
you know?
I'm sure it is, but you know, I guess for Maisie Williams, in comparison to working on,
She's got, yeah,
you know, it's
definitely
just totally different. That's like working on a huge blockbuster film, you know.
Yeah.
Have you watched Game of Thrones?
I have watched the first 2 episodes. And I watched it with Tash, and there were too many knockers in it for me to continue on my own, apparently. I'll go back and I'll watch it, because I'm not a massive fan of sort of fantasy sort of walks and.
Well, this
you know, that's what I know. That I know that's probably not what it's about, but.
Well, that was the thing, because that was exactly the same as me. Kat wanted to watch it, and I was like, I'm not really a fantasy fan outside of He-Man, and which is not really. Probably
you can't even call it that. That's not. It doesn't even have a genre. I mean, fetish.
So, and I was like, well, you know, but actually, it's not as fantasy as you might suspect. It's brilliant. It's so good. I was sat there watching it. I take umbrage with the people who turn around and say Doctor Who needs to be more like Game of Thrones. And I'm like, oh, sorry, where? Do you want boobs in Doctor Who? Do you want like decapitations in Doctor Who?
I sort of agree. I sort of agree with them, though, in as much as if Doctor Who conducted itself with the same grace and the same, I guess, almost pomposity that Game of Thrones has, being such a massive budget program, it might not look so weedy in comparison. Like we've made allusions to it before with Comic-Con, when Doctor Who leave the stage and then Game of Thrones come up and take over in Hall H. You just sort of think they're not really comparable in any way, the 2 programs. I guess they're not trying to be, but in the same way, there is this sort of, I almost feel like Doctor Who is sort of ridden with middle class guilt, where it's just sort of like, oh, you know, we're a show, and we're good, and we're doing our own little thing, and oh my god, here's this massive behemoth that's just full of tits and blood, and you know, and then it sort of, I don't know, it sort of washes itself out, really.
Yeah, I think Doctor Who's never going to have the budget of Game of Thrones.
Unless it had a movie, and even then it probably wouldn't be anywhere near Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and I think now, anyone who is thinking, oh, wouldn't it be good for them to do a Doctor Who film? They are never going to make a Doctor Who film.
Not now. That time is way past.
Yeah, they needed to have done that back when David Tennant was Doctor Who, and you know, it would have been massive. Even if it had been a shit film, which it probably would have been, it would have still been a massive success in terms of box office, at least over here. Elsewhere, don't know. But yeah, I guess I can see what you mean. That's fair enough. Yeah. I agree in that respect.
Okay. Again, just a side question. People ask me questions. What did you think of the trailer? No, I'm actually sort of invested in this. What did you think of the trailer for Spider-Man that came out today?
Oh, it was great. I loved it. I thought it looked really, really cool. It looked like a fresh take on the franchise.
Yeah. I like the design of the Spider-Man logo on his back, because that reminds me of when I used to watch. I don't know what cartoons it was, but I used to watch them on Jetix or Fox Kids.
Yeah. I have the DVDs over there.
Oh, good. I remember watching them and having a Spider-Man outfit that was. I think they were pajamas actually. There wasn't actually a Spider-Man costume, but I remember that logo specifically is stuck in my head, and I thought, I wonder if they'll ever have that iteration of the costume on screen. And they've got the wings as well. They've got the little.
They've got the wings. I love that they've in it. Yeah.
Just quickly, what do you think of the Amazing Spider-Man films? Because I think I'm in the minority of actually quite enjoying them.
Well, this is the thing. See, I liked Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I thought he was. I thought he was a good Spider-Man. I thought he was really good actually. The films themselves, I quite liked the first one. I thought. I think the issue with the first one is, I think it felt so much like the other first one. You know.
Again, it's that thing. It's like we know Spider-Man is probably the most popular superhero on the planet. We know his origin story. We've been told it already.
Yeah, which is baffled me why in Batman versus Superman that they start the film off with Bruce Wayne's parents being shot.
Yeah.
And it comes into it later on, but it's sort of like, we know this. If you don't know why Batman's Batman, then what the hell? It's just madness. And I think that was my issue with Amazing Spider-Man. But I enjoyed it. But the second one I thought was a crock of shite.
Mm.
I really disliked it. I didn't see it at the cinema. I only watched it later. And I just really didn't like it. I just didn't like it. Felt really disjointed. Like, it felt like, oh, we're trying to build up like a cinematic universe type thing and make a franchise out of it, rather than actually, let's just make a good film.
So I don't get it in that case, because Tony Stark is obviously in the new. I don't have a clue what superhero stuff is about. I'm not a superhero fan, but I'm aware of the Avengers as much as I'm aware of what my next door neighbor is thinking right now. And I sort of think, like, so I obviously the last lot of Spider-Man movies were supposed to be in the same cinematic universe as all the other Marvel films, because there are like buildings in the two films that are in all the other Marvel movies.
No, the Amazing Spider-Man films were separate.
Oh, really?
So they were like the Sam Raimi films, the original three. So they were not connected. But
that's funny. I'd have thought they would have jumped on that, knowing they were building up the cinematic universe.
So basically, what has happened was, and we're going to go off a massive sidetrack here. So obviously,
we'll get back on Doctor Who in a minute.
Marvel Studios owned the rights to so many characters. This all came about from like the 80s and the 90s, where Marvel basically nearly went bankrupt. And so they were selling off a lot of their characters to different studios.
And it went to Sony, and they had is this the time limit thing?
Yeah, well, sort of. So, like, X-Men went to Fox, and so did Fantastic Four and stuff. Spider-Man went to Sony, and that is a thing. So, like, when the time limit runs out, they get the characters back. So I think that's what happened with Daredevil. Fox had Daredevil. They didn't make another Daredevil film, so the rights returned to Marvel. With Spider-Man, Sony obviously made the first three Spider-Man films. They were all very successful, except for the third one. They were going to do the fourth one, but that all fell through because Sam Raimi decided, look, I'm not really invested in this enough to want to make this film. He said, I don't want to make a shit film. So they were like, okay, we'll reboot Spider-Man, but we'll follow what Marvel was doing with all their other superheroes, and we'll have like the main core of Spider-Man films, and then we'll have a spin-off from that called Sinister Six, which was going to be the six Spider-Man baddies coming together.
That's why there's a bunch of them at the end of the second movie.
And they were going to do Venom, which was the other Spider-Man baddie, and they were going to do. There was lots of plans to do lots of different Spider-Man related spin-off films. Amazing Spider-Man 2 did so incredibly shite. And that was when the whole. Can you remember the whole thing where all the emails leaked?
Yes, yeah, and people were criticizing it in the emails, and
and they were like, "Fucking hell, this is shit," And so basically, because Sony were losing the battle with Spider-Man, I think Marvel and them sort of basically said, "Look, we'll come to an agreement. You let us take control of Spider-Man. You can still make the films, and you still get a bit of say in it." But you let us have Spider-Man in as much as we can use him with all of our other characters, like he should be. He should be with Iron Man and Thor and all that lot. And it will just be nicer. And I think Sony still have the rights to do other things, so they can make films like Sinister Six. They are planning a Venom film. I think that's sort of less connected. That isn't connected to the main Marvel stuff. So that's sort of more their own thing. It's a really weird, bloody contractual minefield of legal shite. But if you remember that in those Sony leaks, they were looking at making a Doctor Who film. You remember that?
I remember, yes.
Yeah, there was like lots of talks about we need to go to Cardiff and we need to talk to Stephen Moffat and we need to speak to these guys about it. And everyone went, fucking hell, look at what they've done to Spider-Man. Don't let Sony touch Doctor Who. Obviously now I'm sure they can give a shit.
Well, I'm looking now because I remember the Sony, because I was thinking about the Bond movie. I was thinking there was something in there about the Bond series going forward.
Yes, there was
And-
lots of stuff about Spectre, wasn't there? That they were over budget.
I've got something here. For what it's worth, I think the first 100 pages are fantastic, and it's all downhill from there.
Oh, God.
And all that sort of stuff, and saying that the editing was horrendous, and so they re-edited the movie, and then it had a projected budget clocking in at $300 million,
Bloody hell.
which is, I mean, it's one of the most expensive films ever made. That's quite an achievement for a Bond movie. I mean, they're not cheap to make,
That's
but
Spectre.
I know.
Bloody hell.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway,
Really?
and there's all that sort of stuff in there. And then it said, so then there's stuff in here about Neil Purvis and Robert Wade being kicked off of the movie, and then somebody else bringing in to tweak storylines and basically rewrite Spectre. And also, interestingly enough, because there's been lots of people talking about it in the comments of tonight's video, people talking about Idris Elba being Doctor Who.
Mhm.
Sony's head executive wants Idris Elba to be the new Bond. So, I mean, I personally think he's too old, but interesting.
He probably is now, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, considering how old he's going to be.
By the time it gets to, yeah.
Because I don't get this, because I'm certain Daniel Craig is contracted to do another movie. I'm certain that he signed like a 3-picture deal after Casino Royale.
I think he did, yeah.
But then he's saying all this stuff in the press about, I mean, I know a lot of it was over-exaggerated, saying that I don't want to do another one. But I think that was taken out of context, because he meant it as in, like, he said, I'd rather slit my wrists with Shard of Glass than do any more. And I think that was him saying, I'm exhausted from doing the last movie. I'm banged up from doing all the stunts.
Yeah, I think it was just, I don't want to do one right this minute.
Right now, yeah, definitely.
I've just made one. Leave me alone.
But apparently, alongside that this confuses me as well. Apparently, he has been wrangling for more money to do another movie. And so I think, hang on, is he contract? Because surely he would have had the money put in front of him for the contract and gone, bang, there you are, you're having this. And he's now saying, but I want more money for the next movie. And I didn't. This is so weird, and it sort of felt a little bit like dirty. Like, oh, I don't know if I like that, seeing it in the credits. That he was an executive producer on Spectre.
He wasn't he? I remember thinking the same thing. Like, oh,
I saw it in the credits. Like, Jesus Christ! I mean, Sean Connery had some sway when he was Bond, but you think he was never an executive producer of the movies.
No.
And that was a little bit like, it sort of took me aback. I thought about it for the whole movie, going, this guy is like. And not in a bad way, but you're sort of thinking, he is seriously financially invested in this movie, and his fingerprints are all over it. And it does sort of water down, I think, the impact of the movie if you know that, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's James Bond and Marvel. We've discussed all the things that people have wanted us to talk about for ages, and now, whatever. Hey?
What's the matter?
Can you block and flag people on this?
I don't.
Someone saying that Idris Elba shouldn't be Bond because he's black.
Go away.
Never watch one of our videos again. Please. Never comment on any of our videos. Never watch them again. Right, so I think we maybe got time for one more question that will take us into Series 10's discussion, then we'll call it a night, I think. How have you felt about Doctor Who not returning this year, and what are your thoughts looking forward to Series 10?
Well, in terms of Doctor Who not being on this year, it has been a bit strange, I have to say, because, despite any misgivings I may have with with episodes when they come out, and I might think, oh God, this is an awful episode, I kind of missed having that thing to sit down to,
I've not had anything. I mean, Black Mirror came out and that was great, and there have been a few bits here and there, but I've not had anything to sit down and sink my teeth into, and that's been a pain in the... Regardless of what the quality of it, I've just sort of felt like I don't really want to...
Yeah.
This is a bit disappointing. I've not got anything to enjoy.
Yeah, I renewed my... Because I almost didn't renew my TV license, because I thought, what's the point? There's nothing on. And then I remembered Red Dwarf was starting in September.
Oh, yes, of course. But even that was a little bit... I don't know.
I'll be honest.
And have you seen what happened with the DVD as well, and the Blu-ray and all that?
No, what was that?
Steelbook Blu-ray of Series 11
Right.
has all the episode titles for series 12 printed on the back. Yeah, and so they've had to recall all of the steelbooks.
Oh no!
And I feel so bad for them, but then I think, who made that mistake? I mean, the brand, I know the shows were shot in the same block. The two seasons were shot together, but surely it's like the person doing the artwork was like, okay, here's one folder for series 11 and here's one folder for series 12. It's like, how on earth do you, in the workflow of that, do you mix them up?
I see, and I'd like to think that in this scenario, no one noticed it. You know, like the artwork was all done.
Yeah.
And then the guy who was doing the artwork sat down on the night the first episode aired, and he was like, "Dicker,
yeah, what's that about?
You haven't heard of this?" And then,
and then he turns to his wife and goes, "Oh shit." Oh, I can't believe it. And then he has to sort of go in the next day and say, so you were doing like 2 shows in one go.
You've
and I can imagine
not sent those boxes to the printers yet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like, they're in the warehouse.
You've not pressed send on that email by any chance, have you?
Yeah.
And Doug sat there going, well, I was about to send the email. And they're like, don't do it. He said, oh, too late. My fingers just pressed it. Oh, no. And then it's too late. It's too late. Bless him.
Oh,
I tell you what, this is how much we've missed Doctor Who. The fact we're talking about a misprint on the back of a Red Dwarf DVD.
Yeah.
There you are. I agree with you that the whole thing is just like, it's not there. But then at the same time, I haven't missed it. Because it's still there. And Class was there. And, you know, even if Doctor Who isn't on TV, we can still bitch about it.
I think the thing is, you know, I know I've been saying this for the last 3 years, but I'm doing a marathon where I'm watching every episode.
Ah, somebody asked us a question about that as well. So do you want to let us know what's going on there?
So I just finished watching Time of Angels or Flesh and Stone, whichever, the second part of that story. I finished watching that last night. And once we finish recording this, I'm going to sit down and watch Vampires of Venice. But yeah, I mean, for me, this year, I listened to basically every 8th Doctor audiobook, and I listened to all the War Doctor stuff, and I watched all of the 9th Doctor and the 10th Doctor, and obviously now I'm on the 11th Doctor, and ideally I'll get it all done by... I'm never going to get it done by Christmas.
Nope.
No. Yes, that's never going to happen. I wanted to have had it done by Christmas. And Doctor Who hasn't really, it's not been around, like you said, you know, there's been, stuff has come out, like, you know, we've had The Power of the Daleks, we've had new toys, you know, we've, you know, and like I said, I've been listening to stuff. I've also just gotten into the New Adventures novels, actually.
Oh, good. Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
I've read 3 so far. I've read Nightshade. That was the first one I read.
Really cool. Yeah.
That was really good. I've read Blood Harvest, one with the vampires, which is that's Terrence Dicks. That's a very, very interesting one. That's like the 7th Doctor and Ace are in 1920s Chicago during Prohibition, and they've opened up their own little bar place.
Cool.
And Bernice Summerfield is on the vampire planet from State of Decay.
I wondered if that was related. Because I know that Terrence Dicks has a thing for that story. I mean, I'll write it, but...
I really like that story. But I think my issue with the book was that it really heavily relied on State of Decay. Like those segments on that planet. And it was like, you know, we really need to be retreading all this. And then the one that I literally just finished reading yesterday was All Consuming Fire.
Right. And what was that?
That's Sherlock Holmes and the Doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was a good one.
Is that the one they're doing as a Big Finish audio now?
It is. Yeah. That's right.
That must have just been Nick Briggs just going through and like, well, how can I get myself into this, you know, without people noticing again for the millionth time that I'm doing the voice of the lift shaft that's taking the Doctor up to the top floor of this spaceship.
The funny thing with that book is that it's written like a Sherlock Holmes book in as much as it's all written from Watson's perspective, well, most of it. and the Doctor isn't really in it an awful lot. So when I was reading it, I was thinking, so when it comes to the Big Finish adaptation, this is literally Big Finish's Sherlock Holmes range, and Doctor Who turns up with some aliens.
Yeah. Interesting. Got a question here. I thought this would be quite cool to talk about very quickly. Opinion on Capaldi's too many costume variants. That was sent to us on Twitter from Jean-Luc Harry. I'm just going to say Jean-Luc because it sounds French. To be honest, it's like Pertwee had a different velvet jacket every story. It's not, but I think actually, having said that, it's like the actual like it changes so dramatically. Hoodie, t-shirt. Oh, now he's wearing the collared shirt, and it just changes like that. It's a bit irritating.
That's the thing. Like Pertwee, like you said, he had a wide variety of jackets and shirts and cravats, but they all felt the same. Like there was a pattern there. It was all a very similar style, and he looked smart. And even when he wasn't wearing a cravat, and that was his more casual look, he still looked friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
Aldi, and I think he looks great in Series 8, and I think he looks great in the red velvet jacket with the waistcoat and stuff. But bloody hell, you get that hoodie out, and then you get the hoodie and the t-shirt. And I know you like the Holy jumper, don't you?
I mean, I only like it because it's easy to cut holes into something and make a costume. But I thought it was cool. I mean, it was definitely, it's very trendy. It's very right now. It's so dark, sexy, and right now it's practically tomorrow. I love that quote.
Well, and I think that's the thing is it's such it's very eclectic. It doesn't. The only constant is really the coat.
And even he's got a new one next year as well.
Yeah, I don't like the black one with the blue.
Oh, is it?
Or is it like a bottle?
Did he have a green? Yeah, he had like a bottle, like a dark green one, I think.
Green, yeah. No.
That was cool. I like that one.
No, I'm not so keen. I like my personal favourite is still that burgundy one. I think he looks great in that. Obviously,
that was the one we saw him in, and we touched it.
Yeah, we touched it. Yeah, I remember putting my arm around him and thinking, "Oh, that's a nice coat." That's a nice coat.
You've never uploaded the footage of the of that day.
I need to. I actually said this to Kat the other day. It was like, it's been a year. It's like any spoilers that were in that video, which there were, because can you remember that we were there and there was the hole in the console, and I think it's actually in the video.
And the head, the head was going to go in there.
And Peter said, he was like, this is a recent addition for a story that hasn't gone out yet. And I was like, okay. And
when we were outside the set, and the backdrop for the TARDIS doors had been raised up, and it was like, oh, well, so it's sort of contemporary Earth then. And they're like, what? They're like, well, the backdrop for the exterior of the TARDIS is there. And they sort of went a bit like, oh, yeah, okay. I was like, you're not moving that.
Yeah, and all the snow as well. There was all the snow. And
obviously, yeah.
I will upload that. I will definitely do something with it and put it up there, because I'm sure people would like to see it. Because there's nothing incriminating in there, is there?
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Yeah. No. That was great. What a great day. I think I've answered that, haven't we?
Yeah, there we are. So I can't remember what the question was now. Costumes. So very quickly before we end the stream, let's talk about the episode listings for next year, because you've got the stuff with you there.
I do indeed. Right, so here we go. So let's talk about the episodes first, and then we'll talk about Capaldi, and we'll call it an end. Mm-hmm. So episode 1, I didn't even know it had a title, and the episode is called apparently. So this is Stephen Moffat's episode. This is called A Star in Her Eye. That's all. Obviously, I guess that's Bill. Her first episode.
Oh God, he's going to audition companions.
Really? Big Finish did that though. They did that with Paul McGann, but actually, sort of.
I don't know. That episode title sort of fills me with dread. I think he's going to I don't know. We'll see.
I read an interesting thing the other day on Gallifrey Base, talking
Oh
about.
God, I haven't been on there in ages.
Well, it was literally me trying to find the list of episode titles
Right.
that led me there. But there was an interesting thing about Series 1 when they were, coming up with original ideas for the series. And that I think the episode that eventually became Boomtown was going to be that Captain Jack found out that the Doctor was trying to make Rose into the perfect companion. And the idea was that Captain Jack wasn't sure whether or not to tell Rose and be like, he's pulling your life here, there, and everywhere to make you this perfect traveling companion, or whether or not actually it's making her a better person. So maybe.
Right. Okay.
I thought it was a bit crap myself, but then again, Boomtown's shite. So.
There we are.
But yeah, and also
that sounds more like a thread for the whole series rather than just one episode where it's sort of sprung upon.
And I think that was the problem with the episode, and I think that's why Rusty Davies abandoned it, was because because of that. It was like it didn't really fit in with what had been going on with the rest of the series. But there was I don't know who it was that was supposed to have written that episode, but apparently it was Paul Abbott, who was apparently Rusty Davies' sort of like mentor.
Right.
And I think he's quite an established writer and quite revered. And I think it was sort of the case that Russell sort of was like, "You're writing for this series, write whatever you want. It's just the fact that we've got you is amazing." Another interesting fact was the werewolf story with Queen Victoria. That was also written by someone else, and then Rusty Davies came along and rewrote the whole thing. And the only things that he took from that was the diamond, which was something that this other writer had come up with. Davies pitched the werewolf and Victoria to this other writer, and apparently it had something to do with like an alien in. I think it was like inside Queen Victoria's head or something, and was like controlling her. And then at one point, this alien got really big, or she got really big, and he sort of said it just the person who was writing it wasn't a science fiction writer, and it just didn't make sense, and they didn't really. He said they didn't even bother to have like really faux sci-fi explanations for things.
Right.
The Doctor turned around and said, "Oh, Queen Victoria has grown large because the particles of flim-flam in her system was, all that kind of stuff." He said things just sort of happened, and there was no explanation, and it was like, yeah, you can't really get away with that.
Okay.
But yeah, sorry, I went on a complete tangent there, but I thought it was interesting information to share.
Interesting indeed. So that's episode 1. So
that's episode 1.
That's her introduction, Bill's introduction.
So episode 2 has no title. This was the episode that was filmed in Valencia. Can you remember that? Can you remember they went to some museum place there where it looks very futuristic?
Not a clue.
Not a clue? Okay, well,
Nope.
That was that one. And that is written by Frank Cottrell Boyce, the writer of Forest of the Night.
I don't mind that episode.
Yeah, you don't mind it. See, I thought that episode was crap.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know
besides
what to
the obvious. But that's it.
I love
Please
it.
be taken to the funny farm. Yeah. It was all right. It wasn't.
I'm going to pause you for 2 seconds. My battery is running down incredibly low, and I need to plug it in.
Oh
I
my
thought I had
God.
done it. Oh my
Right.
God! The world might end.
Okay, but let's talk about Into the Forest of the Night then. So it's just you and me now. All right, and I'm on Matt's channel, so I can say anything I want. Right. There were some plants, and the plants did a thing, and then the plants did another thing, and then ultimately, when all the plants had finished doing their thing, it was great, and it was good, and everybody enjoyed the plants doing the thing, and that's why Matt's a bit of a. Oh, anyway, so so let's move on very swiftly. So yeah, I didn't mind Into the Forest of the Night, but it would be interesting to see what he comes up with again.
Yeah.
'Cause he is an established children's writer.
Yeah. Well. Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see what happens, Matt. Let's be optimistic about that one. So, is that got a title, or is it?
That is
Episode
to be
list.
announced at the moment. We do not know. Episode
Okay.
3, which is also to be announced. This is the episode with the Victorian setting. Can you remember seeing pictures of Capaldi in his Victorian finery? I thought he looked very, very dapper.
You mean like the one that I went to go and see being filmed in Bristol?
Yes, yes,
It is that one.
it is that one. So that one,
brilliant.
that one is written by Sarah Dollard, who wrote
Yes.
Face the Raven.
Hmm.
Yeah. Did she
Yeah, no,
write
I-
another one last year as well?
No, was that another female writer?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sarah
Someone
something, or
had a funny name,
can't remember.
Tigella or something. I don't know. I can't remember
Oh.
what her name was. But yeah, there was someone else, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Sarah Dollard, who I'm sure she wrote Face the Raven. Face the Raven, because I think she said, "Oh, I'm not killing a companion off this time."
Yeah.
Did you see anything interesting when you were there watching the filming?
I know that Pearl Mackie trod on my foot with her massive Victorian heels, which hurt, and that's about it. I don't know. There was some exterior stuff that looked like the actual manor was like built inside a fortress, like a walled, enclosed sort of like massive fortress fence sort of thing.
Right.
No, that was it. Everything was done inside the building. So
Didn't break in then.
no, I didn't, unfortunately.
No, should have done. Should have broke in. Should have
Never
knocked out like a rigger and stole his clothes and gone in and be like, "Yeah,
That'd be
I'm
good.
doing the lights today."
Oh dear.
Yeah, so that's all we know about her story at the moment. Episode 4 does have a title. It is called The Haunted Hub by Bartlett. And that is the episode
Oh,
that is starring David Suchet as the landlord.
Okay.
Which is very exciting. I think that's amazing that we've got David Suchet in Doctor Who.
Yeah, I that interests me because it's like finally, something like completely new. It feels like, like what is the hub? That excites me. You see, like seeing like Sarah Dollard. Oh, cool. Face the Raven was good. It was it was all right. And then Jeremy Matheson's not back, is he?
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He's written the next episode, which he said is incredibly scary.
That
Very
quote.
tense scenes. Some of the tensest scenes he's ever written, and he said it was frightening. Shit your
It was
pants.
like it's scary, like super seriously scary.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Firstly, don't ever say those words again. And secondly, is it, or do you feel insecure about your story, or what? Because it just seemed really like, okay, like good. What isn't Doctor Who supposed to do this? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like it's the scary episode of Doctor Who. Well, what?
They're all supposed to be scary.
Yes, that's the point.
Yeah, so that he's written episode 5. He's new, isn't he? We've not had him before. The name rings a bell for some reason, but maybe it's just I've heard it. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I've watched something that he's written before. But yeah, so that's with David Suchet. Then we've got Jamie Matheson.
Rona Munro's episode have a title?
It does. So episodes 6, 7, and 8 are at the moment titleless and also have no writers attributed to them that we know of. Episode 9 is Rona Munro's return to Doctor Who. In an episode, I love the title for this because it feels so Doctor Who-y.
Yeah.
Light.
The what?
The Eaters of Light. Eating light.
The Eaters of Light.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that sounds like a Doctor Who story.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's got a very Doctor Who.
The something
title.
of something. The review of death. Yeah, very Doctor Who.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So they're all single parters.
I think so, or so far. There was, however, a rumor that I think episodes 6 and 7, or 7 and 8, could be a two-parter. And the rumor is, I think, that it's either going to be a Dalek story, because, you know, we're not sick of those,
Of course.
or it's going to be of the Cybermen story on Mondas.
Okay.
So spare parts.
That would literally save my interest in the series.
Yeah.
If it was a Mondasian Cyberman story.
I see. Yeah. I mean, I'm very excited, but they need to get it right. And I think the trouble is, spare parts is so good. It's such a good audio play.
I'd be scared though, if it is, we're doing a Mondasian Cyberman story. It'd be like, oh shit, is this because Peter's leaving? Does he just want to get one under his belt quickly before he goes? That he wants to do a Mondasian Cyberman story?
Yeah. Been talking about it for a long time, hadn't he? Been saying, I'd love to do a story where we meet the Cybermen, you know, the proper ones.
Yeah, the proper ones. I love him so much.
Yeah.
I love that man.
He's so good.
What a dude.
Yeah, so it could be that. So Rona Munro, she's back for episode 9. She said she wanted her story. She said something along the lines of, it's going to be haunting in as much as the way that, like, William Hartnell, Doctor Who, used to haunt her as a child, which I think is a cool thing to say. 10, 11, and 12 are all written by Stephen Moffat.
Okay.
But apparently, I think at one point, writing episode 10, and now Stephen's doing it. So,
okay. Well, I'm guessing that means that the last 3, like, you know, has been, I guess, sort of been the thread since series 3. The last 3 are going to be connected.
Yeah. And of course, he'll be writing the Christmas special for that year.
To be fair, again, I think this comes back to the question we had about what do we think about Stephen? You know, is he going to do one big massive finale one big sort of like, I'm gone, I was here, I'm brilliant, see you later sort of thing. I like the reflective, end of Russell T Davies's era on the show. And I really, really, really hope that the structure for this series, the fact that it's almost all single episodes and then the 3-part finale, 1 2-parter, I really hope this means that this is the epitome of what Doctor Who used to be like, and now when Chris Chibnall comes along, bang, brand new format, bang, it's going to be something fresh, multiple 2-parters, something closer to series 9, sorry. Let's do something, this is the last hurrah for how Doctor Who has worked in the past couple of years, and let's freshen it up. I'd like to see, I hope it would be like that, but then of course, as we know, or it is rumoured to be the case, Chris Chibnall is on the marching orders of wanting something closer to the David Tennant era, which means we'd be retreading the old format. So
yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what happens there. It's a shame that I'm a bit annoyed that we're going to have like another Stephen Moffat Christmas special as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Hoping that it would just end with this series. So when that was announced, it's like, oh, please, just draw it out. Like, but I guess the thing is, they're like, well, we want a Christmas special because ratings are generally pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah.
For Christmas special Doctor Who.
We'll see this year.
Yeah. Maybe they'll change their mind. So I think with that, we can just very quickly talk about the rumour about Peter Capaldi. So that, like you mentioned with Chris Chibnall, the idea was that the BBC would like to see a return to the heyday of modern Doctor Who under, in as much as they'd like to replace the lead actor with a much younger and more dashing lead, akin to David Tennant.
I don't get that, because I don't think you can get more dashing than Peter Capaldi.
No,
he is the epitome of dashing.
I think they just... I mean, So, I wanted to approach this, I was talking about it, and I could see a lot of people saying it. Now, obviously, I love Peter Capaldi. I think he's a great Doctor, and I would have loved to have seen a series under Chris Chibnall, because Chris Chibnall might be brilliant. I love Broadchurch. I think Broadchurch is excellent. It's an excellent series. So I'm very excited to see what Chris Chibnall does to the series, especially after having 5 years under Stephen Moffat, and feeling very much the same. It's interesting actually, because since rewatching the first Matt Smith series, it's like actually series 5 does feel so fresh and new, and it actually is a pretty good series. And then it's just, it all sort of goes a bit downhill from there. I'm excited to see what Chris Chibnall brings to the series. At the same time, I would have loved to have seen Peter Capaldi come along and do a series under Chibbers, as I'm going to call him now. Chibbers. I think that would be amazing. Good old Chibbers. I think that would be great. But at the same time, if this is something that the BBC are indeed thinking about, I actually kind of understand why they'd be saying it, and I also kind of don't think it's a bad idea.
Plugging our competition. I can't believe I'm doing this. Five Who fans did a really good video about why Capaldi needs to leave, which was very along those same lines of, if they want something fresh and they want to get away from the old guard and the old way of doing things under Moffat, this is what we need to do. This is how, Peter needs to step down. The thing is, I think that for the first time, considering all of the stuff that's happened in alternative media over the past 2 years with certain licenses being bought up by certain audio companies, I don't think we need to worry too much about the 12th Doctor, the ether. Because I am absolutely certain that maybe after a little bit of a break, Capaldi will be knocking on the door of Big Finish saying, let's do this, lads, and let's do it properly. So as sad as it will be to see Capaldi leave the show, and as emotionally crippling as it will be to see him regenerate, which is going to be, I mean, just not even for the Doctor himself, to see Capaldi have to shoot a regeneration scene, that's going to be really tough to watch. That's going to be very emotional. I think, especially because it's an older man as well. With like a younger Doctor, it is like, well, whatever, they're young, they'll be okay, and then they regenerate, no matter how emotional they are. The fact it's going to be an older gentleman dying, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. I agree with you. I think that while I'm not totally happy with where they want to take the show in regards to throwing it back to where it used to be, I agree that I think Peter needs to step away from it, which is really sad. And I think it's, I curse this program for making me say that out loud. It gets to the point where you're saying Peter Capaldi needs to stop being the Doctor. How fucked up is this program?
It's horrible, and I think the 12th Doctor hasn't been handled well at all. Someone else was saying this on Facebook when all this came out, and it was Laurie McHale, who posts on my Facebook quite a lot when it comes to Doctor Who things, and he said, like, you still can't really pin down his Doctor.
No, I think it's been handled so bad. Like, even coming back to the costumes we were talking about, is he funky, cool, hipster, young Doctor, or is he dark, brooding, mysterious, Series 8 12th Doctor? It's very weird.
That's the thing. It's like, it's such a complete shift between series. Series 8, he was a brooding misery, which I quite liked, but I don't think you could keep it up necessarily all the time. But then in Series 9, when he becomes all sort of wacky, playing the guitar on a tank, and you're like, well, this isn't the Doctor that we were watching the last series.
Do you know, and I think that, I'm trying to think of an analogy for this in the entertainment industry, but I think it's just when you get too close to a program and your personality starts to show through, which we've seen with Moffat being in charge of the program.
Yeah.
I think that there's a conflict of interests in what the audience want out of you, what you want to do, what the BBC are telling you to do, what Stephen Moffat wants you to do, what people on set are probably saying, what people's own subconscious, when Capaldi walks into a room, what he's saying about his role. I think that the leadership of that program is so broken, clearly, because just to look at Capaldi's run and just see it go, whoa, what's going on? Like, there's no consistency, there's no through line. And that's because his doctor should be complex, and his doctor was complex. But then they got cold feet about that. And then they went, we'll just make him wacky. It was like Tennant's doctor. Tennant's doctor is very incoherent and frenetic and constantly changes between stories. But he's either, dashing, sort of hero, or he's dark, brooding and menacing sort of person. And then Capaldi is either, dark, brooding and menacing, or he's funky and crazy. And then in the next episode, no, he's dark and brooding and menacing again.
Yeah. And it seemed weird
think
then,
like
I think.
That, yeah.
Like with Series 9, like if you had... you had those stories where he was, Dr. Funkenstein and doing that stupid shit. And then you get a story like Heaven Sent, where he's very much the Doctor of Series 8. And, episode... generally speaking, I think is a good story, and I think Peter Capaldi is brilliant in it. It's a real testament to Peter's acting. And I think watching that, you sort of think, that is the 12th Doctor. That is the 12th Doctor that we should be getting week after week. Not necessarily doing dopey shit. When he brought the guitar out, I think that came up in like so many episodes. And it's like, yeah, but you don't need this. This is like another gimmick, and like the sunglasses, and it's just like, you're trying to gimmickise. That's not a word, but it is now. You're trying to gimmickise your Doctor, like just to give people something to latch onto, and I just don't think it worked. And it's such a shame. I love to have seen a series where his character was just completely straight and on point, and they were just like, right, this is what we're doing with him, and we're going to run with it. And I think that is part of the problem. It's like, even now, I still can't really say I know his Doctor. It's a weird one. Like, I don't know. I think if they need to change the lead actor, then it probably is a good thing. If it'll keep the program going, but in a fresh way, it's no good for them changing the actor, and then we're still getting the same old crap. Yeah. Because then, well, that's it. Get rid of the program. Personally, I think that they should have done Doctor Who this year. If they were getting a new actor in, they should have done a series of Doctor Who this year, and this was the year it should have ended, and we should have had an entire year Doctor Who, and then the new actor comes in.
I think that's what's happening because, if you take this year to be the break, and I know it was said in the Daily Mail article, but it is this is what's happening apparently. That Chibnall's production team is working parallel to Moffat's production team in Cardiff. So in my eyes, they share the same office space, but they just got a dividing wall down between them. They throw stuff at each other over the wall. But I get, because if Chibnall or anybody else he's brought on board who has never worked with Doctor Who before, they get to know the environment, but then I guess they also get to learn the pitfalls and things they change, and they get to add lots of bits in. And I think that it's going to be very sad to see Peter go, but at the same time, I would, like you said, I'd like to see a clean break. Like, he's gone, new showrunner, his own Doctor. Let's not stutter Chibnall's start with having to brush Capaldi under the carpet, for his first series.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because otherwise, whatever happens, if Peter stayed, all right, I think you're going to need a brand new logo, rebrand it, new theme tune.
Yeah.
They send the article about a new companion as well, and you sort of think, bloody hell, this new girl, she hasn't even started yet, and we're already talking about.
I feel very sorry
leaving.
for Pearl. She seems really nice, and it's just sad that she's. It's the Bonnie Langford, Colin Baker thing. They come on board the show. They get scapegoated as the reason for its cancellation or its hiatus. It's very sad.
Yeah, it's a real shame. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens in this new period. Like I said, I'm very excited to see what happens with Chibnall in charge. So I don't know. It's going to be a weird. This new year is going to be very strange because we're going to constantly be thinking, but there's something new on the other side of this.
That's what's getting me through all the Doctor Who stuff at the moment. And if Chibnall's series is shit, okay, we'll have some more material and we'll have something to complain about. But it will be such a letdown. It will be so crushing if it's poor. I can't see it being particularly bad, but then at the same time, everybody had such high hopes about Stephen when he came on board, and look what's happened now.
Yeah. It's true. And I think it's very strange when you hear Stephen talking about Series 10. He's like, I want it to feel like a brand new series, and all this kind of thing. And then
it's like, you're going.
Sort of think, you're going. And a new man is coming in next year who is going to want to change probably most things, Yeah. Will we get a new TARDIS set? Possibly. Will we get a new police box? I'd like to see an old, more classic-looking one rather than the big, chunky, fat ones. Will we get a new title sequence? Will we get a new logo? New monsters, a new composer. I like Murray Gold, but my God, we need a new composer for this program.
The best thing that came out of Class was Blair Mowat, and he did the work on Adventure in Space and Time, but his score for that show was brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to buy anything related to Class afterwards, but if the soundtrack gets released, I'm going to buy the soundtrack for Class.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd love for there to be new man behind or woman
Ben
behind
Foster, he's great as well.
Ben Foster would be good, or David Arnold.
Oh yeah. Oh well, he'd probably. Well, I mean, if Thomas Newman isn't doing the next Bond movie because. What's the name of the director from the last couple of Bond movies? If he isn't
Sam Mendes.
If Mendes isn't doing it, Thomas Newman won't be involved, which means they'd probably call David Arnold back, which means he'd be busy.
Yeah, because he does Sherlock, doesn't he, David Arnold?
He does do Sherlock, yeah.
Or
at least he did the theme tune, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll find out actually.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he does all the scores, but yeah, he definitely did the theme tune. Yeah, I mean, I like David Arnold's Doctor Who theme that he did for Big Finish, the Paul McGann stuff. So I would be interested to see how he handled Doctor Who all the way through. Someone who came to mind the other day, and it was because I found the Ace Rimmer theme from Series 7 on
Howard Goodall.
I thought, why?
He'd be brilliant.
What a great idea! He's got so much experience, and particularly for sci-fi as well. He's done every series of Red Dwarf. All right, I know it's comedy, but you listen to the Ace Rimmer theme, and it's very dramatic and stuff. And I thought Howard Goodall would be great. He seems
he would.
He's worked on so many quintessentially British programs over the years. It's like. He's an obvious fit, He's, I think Howard Goodall would be my other choice.
He'd be excellent, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Well,
I think
if we end this on anything, it's to say, I don't know, go and watch Red Dwarf, but don't buy the Blu-ray because, everything's supposed to. Go and watch Red Dwarf and listen to Howard Goodall's score. That's what I think that's where we'll leave it.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah,
he'd be fantastic. He'd be really, really cool.
Well,
okie dokie then.
We'll call it an end for this evening.
Yeah, it's been 2 hours, I think.
Crap. Yeah, maybe longer than that. 2.5 perhaps.
Bloody hell.
We've talked about a lot of different things. I hope everybody at home has enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it, Billy?
I loved it. Buy our t-shirts. I loved it. I think it was absolutely great fun.
So yeah, I guess the next video you'll see from us will be when we talk about
Christmas special.
the return of Doctor Mysterio. Yeah, so
Oh, what fun.
I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas if we don't speak to you before then. And yeah, Christmas special on Christmas Day. It's early, isn't it? It's like 5:45, I think.
It's 5:45. This is the earliest Christmas special we've had. So don't expect it to actually be scary.
Yeah, enjoy it. We'll hopefully enjoy it as well, and you'll see us. Yeah, well, you'll see us talk about it in the near future.
Definitely.
Well, so it's goodbye from him.
And goodbye from him.
Yeah, no, I did it wrong, isn't it? It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Ta-ra. Cheerio. Farewell.